You won't believe what happened next. Imagine catching your gaslighting husband cheating, your heart shattering into a million pieces. But what if that other woman wasn't just a stranger, but his long-lost sister? And what if, in the chaos, you found yourself falling head over heels for her? Yeah, that's my story. And it ends with me leaving him. For months, my husband had been a ghost in our own home. He'd become this stranger, glued to his phone, whispering into it, suddenly, working late, or grabbing drinks with friends I barely knew. Every fiber of my being screamed affair. I felt it in my gut, that sickening twist that tells you something is terribly wrong. One night, he told me he was going to his best friend's house. John, his best friend. The only problem? John was halfway across the world on vacation. That lie, that cold, blatant lie, snapped something inside me. I pulled up his phone's location tracker, my hands trembling, and saw the pin drop on a bar across town. My blood ran cold, but I knew what I had to do. I walked into that bar, bracing myself for the worst. The air hung heavy with music and chatter, but all I could focus on was finding him. My eyes scanned the room, each face a blur, until there he was, tucked away in a back booth, laughing, sharing a beer with a woman. My world stopped. The pain was so sharp, so immediate, it stole my breath. I just stood there, staring, a silent scream trapped in my chest. And then, as if sensing my despair, he turned his head. My heart leaped into my throat. I literally crapped myself, no joke, and dove behind the nearest table, trying to make myself invisible. My heart hammered against my ribs, but then, a strange relief washed over me.
He wasn't looking at me.
He was just calling over a waitress for another round. As he turned back to her, to the woman I was already demonizing in my mind, I slipped out of that bar like a phantom. The drive home was a blur of tears and raw, visceral agony. I collapsed into bed, the image of their laughter seared into my mind, and cried myself into a fitful sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard him stumble through the front door, then into our bedroom. He practically fell onto the bed beside me, mumbled an apology for waking me, and even had the audacity to kiss my forehead. "How is John's house?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, laced with an anger I couldn't hide. "Oh, great," he chirped, sounding far too cheerful for someone who just lied their face off. "We had so much fun." He then asked if I needed anything, if I was hungry. My blood boiled. How dare he? How dare he be so sweet, so attentive, after what I'd just witnessed? I tossed and turned all night, the picture of her, beautiful, seemingly kind, laughing with my husband, looping endlessly in my head. What did she have that I didn't? More importantly, why did he look at her that way? It was a gaze I'd never seen directed at me. And then, to come home, lie to my face, and seem happier than he was when he left? It was almost unbearable. Exhaustion finally dragged me into a fitful sleep just before dawn. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and eggs. On the nightstand, there was a plate with 2 eggs over easy, bacon, and toast. Drizzled in chocolate syrup on the plate were the words, "Happy anniversary, my love." My husband, the cheater, had made me breakfast in bed, but he was nowhere to be seen. I dragged myself out of bed to brush my teeth, still reeling from the previous night. And then, he slipped into the bathroom behind me, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Good morning." I recoiled, physically flinching away from his touch. "What's wrong?" he asked, genuine confusion clouding his face. "I know," I choked out. "I know you've been cheating on me." His face went blank, utterly bewildered. "What are you talking about?" he asked. So I laid it all out. The lie about John, the location tracking, finding him at the bar with some girl. He just paused. And then, a slow, disbelieving grin spread across his face. He started to laugh. Not a gentle chuckle, but a full-blown, belly-aching, breath-stealing laugh. I shoved him away, a fresh wave of fury washing over me, and stormed out of the bathroom. He followed, still gasping for air between fits of laughter. "Honey," he managed to wheeze, "sit down. Let me explain." "Explain?" I didn't want to hear it. I knew he was cheating, and his laughter felt like a mockery. I retreated to the living room, but he persisted, pleading for just 30 seconds. My anger simmered, but something in his desperation, even through the laughter, made me reluctantly sit down. He asked if I remembered that Italian restaurant we went to a while back. I did. And do you remember when you drank 4 drinks without touching a single breadstick, and you started telling me everything about your past? He continued. Again, I nodded, utterly confused where this was going. That night, he had poured his heart out, rambling about a long-lost sister. And that's when it hit me. All the pieces, suddenly, chillingly, began to click into place. He told me the woman at the bar was Jill, his sister. They'd been separated when they were little because their mom couldn't afford to raise both of them. So, his mom kept him and gave Jill to her sister, who lived halfway across the country. They lost touch completely when their mom couldn't afford the phone bill, and after Jill's aunt passed away, they couldn't even find each other for the funeral. Years went by. He explained that Jill had finally found him, sifting through state records, eventually tracking him down on Facebook. They'd messaged for a while, getting to know each other, and decided to meet at that bar, that night. It made sense, in a twisted kind of way. But still, if she was his sister, why the colossal lie about John's house? I asked him, my voice still tight with suspicion. He said he didn't know how it would go. What if they didn't get along? He didn't want to introduce me, or even bring it up until he knew for sure. That's why he lied. But I wasn't having it. You could have still told me, I protested, instead of letting me track you to a bar, thinking you were with another woman. It was the principle of it, the betrayal of trust. He apologized profusely, promising he'd never lie to me again, no matter how small. By the way, if you're still hooked on this roller coaster of a story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the other wild tales I've got coming your way. I still wasn't entirely convinced. Show me, I demanded. Show me the messages. He pulled out his phone, and there they were. Messages back and forth with a woman named Jill, claiming to be his sister, eager to meet. After reading through their conversation, a new doubt crept in. How do you know this is really her? I asked, not just some random person trying to connect. He said he'd seen her driver's license at the bar, her last name matched. Everything checked out, but a part of me, the part that had been so deeply hurt, needed more. If she's really your sister, I stated, then let me meet her. He agreed, texting Jill to meet up later that night. Earlier wouldn't work. We had anniversary dinner plans at our favorite restaurant. It was nearly noon by then, and we had a couple's massage booked for 1 p.m. We better hurry, I told him, if we're going to make it. The car ride to the spa was silent, thick with unspoken thoughts. The messages, the lies, the image of him laughing with her, it all replayed in my mind. I desperately hoped she was just his sister. My husband, sensing the tension, finally broke the silence, asking about my day at work. It pulled me back from the brink of my spiraling thoughts, grounding me in the present. I mumbled that everything was fine. He smiled, said he was glad I was doing well. We arrived at the spa, and he, ever the gentleman, walked around to open my door. We went inside, and for a few hours, we let the massages melt away some of the tension. He seemed much more relaxed than I was when we left, but it was a start. Back home, my husband was more talkative, and I tried to engage, forcing a smile, nodding along, trying to salvage what was left of our anniversary day. Once home, he flopped onto the living room couch. I told him I was going to get ready for dinner. Standing in front of my closet, I stared at a tight, classy black dress, then at a flowing, wine-red gown. What did I even feel like wearing? Before I knew it, 6 o'clock arrived. I headed back into the bedroom to find my husband looking incredibly spiffy. I grabbed my purse, and we headed to that Italian restaurant, the very one where he'd first mentioned his long-lost sister. My heart sank, a bitter reminder of his lie, but I pushed the feeling away and walked in. We ate. I forced a few laughs, and as dinner wound down, his phone buzzed. It must be her. He flipped it over, read the message. Jill's asking where we are, he said, then texted back that we were at dinner and would head to the bar right after. "Did you tell her I was coming?" asked, my voice sharp. "No," he admitted. That did it. A fresh wave of rage washed over me. Why wouldn't he tell this mystery woman that his wife would be joining them? "Just get the check," I snapped. "Let's go." My anniversary day felt utterly ruined, hijacked by this woman who seemed to have such a hold on my husband. I walked to the car, simmering, and waited for him. The closer we got to the bar, the more anxious I became. We finally arrived, and he spotted Jill at the bar, chatting with the bartender, 2 shots already in front of her. As I walked up behind him, she looked up, surprised. That's when my husband finally introduced us. "Nice to meet you," she said, a beautiful smile gracing her face. Her brown hair framed striking green eyes. I returned the smile, a strange warmth blooming in my chest. We all settled in, drinks in hand. I almost couldn't believe I'd thought my husband was leaving me for her. All those horrible names I'd called her in my head, all the harsh judgments I'd made about him, a wave of guilt washed over me. But my husband, bless his heart, seemed completely unbothered, just happy to have us both there. We laughed, we talked, we connected. Jill, a nurse, mentioned she was planning to move to our town soon. She tentatively asked if she could stay with us for a while, wanting to be close to family. Considering everything my husband had been through and how long they'd been separated, I impulsively agreed. My husband's face lit up. He said the 2 most important women in his life would finally be living in harmony. We ended the night with hugs, Jill exchanging numbers with both of us, and drove home. That night, lying next to my husband, I couldn't stop thinking about Jill, her captivating laugh, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, the way she had looked at me. The very next morning, my husband and I met up with Jill again to arrange her move. Her belongings were states away, and she was currently in a hotel. My husband suggested hiring movers, an easier solution than driving there ourselves. I readily agreed. So we did. A few weeks later, Jill had settled into our home while she looked for jobs. During that time, Jill and I became inseparable. We were like 2 peas in a pod. Shopping trips, trying new restaurants, getting our nails done. We did everything together. In such a short time, she'd become my closest friend. After about a month, my husband, over dinner one night, asked Jill how she liked her stay, if she needed anything. She looked across the table, not at him, but at me, a soft smile on her face, and said, "I have everything I need right here." My husband, oblivious, just said, "Great. Let me know if you need anything else." As the months rolled by, I found myself spending less and less time with my husband and more with Jill. Her laugh was music to my ears, and being around her filled me with a joy I hadn't felt in years. I was cleaning more, cooking more, my whole attitude had shifted for the better. One night, lying awake next to my sleeping husband, I couldn't get Jill out of my head. I thought about how she made me feel, about her incredible spirit. And then, a truly terrifying, exhilarating thought began to bloom. What if we could live our lives together? It started as a fleeting vision, an innocent fantasy, but soon, every single night before bed, I'd replay these scenarios in my mind. Eventually, I knew I had to speak to her. I had to know if she felt it too. After another long day of shopping, we found ourselves at a restaurant, waiting for our order. My heart pounded. "Jill," I began, Do you like me?" She laughed, a light, easy sound. "Of course, I like you," she said. "You're my best friend." I took a deep breath. "No," I whispered. "I mean, do you like me beyond friendship?" She paused, her gaze locking with mine. A moment stretched between us, electric and charged. Then, she reached across the table, gently cupped my chin, and leaned in, pressing her lips softly against mine. "Does that answer your question?" she whispered, pulling back. My mind reeled. During that kiss, all those imaginary scenarios, all those dreams of a life with her, flashed before my eyes, suddenly, powerfully real. I'd never told my husband I was bisexual. A pang of guilt hit me, having these intense feelings for his sister. So we made a pact, Keep it a secret. For months, we lived a double life. We were doing everything a couple does, just in secret. The moment my husband left for work, Jill and I would find ourselves in the bedroom, the kitchen, even the attic, anywhere we could be together. We'd then spend the rest of the day cuddling, watching movies, our love blooming beautifully and boldly in the shadows. I was happier than I'd ever been, and she seemed to echo that joy. Then one day, in the middle of our private, intimate time, this time in the living room, we heard the front door open. Clang. Both of us froze, confusion and alarm seizing us. It was my husband. What was he doing home so early? He stood there, briefcase dropping to the floor, his eyes wide, fixed on us. What is going on? He choked out. We had no words. He looked utterly broken. How could you do this to me? He sobbed, his voice cracking. I tried to reach for him, to console him, but he pushed me away, hard. He said he'd had a terrible day at work and just wanted to come home early, and this was what he was greeted with. Jill, quickly wrapping a sheet around herself, tried to talk to him. They went into the guest bedroom, and soon, their voices escalated. I heard my husband yelling, "How could you betray me like this? I wish you never moved in. You should have just stayed in the past where you belonged." Hearing him say that, my sadness turned to fierce protectiveness. I walked in, my voice firm. Don't you dare speak to Jill like that. His grief-stricken eyes snapped to me, and his sadness morphed into pure, unadulterated rage. You, he roared, you ungrateful wife. How dare you have an affair and with my sister? It makes me sick to my stomach. He told me I knew how important they both were to him, and I'd chosen to throw it all away. But I'm in love, I countered, my voice shaking but resolute. I truly was. The very next day, the divorce papers landed on my lap. I showed them to Jill, my heart still raw but surprisingly light. She looked at them, then at me, and a slow smile spread across her face. You're finally getting what you wanted, I said, a hint of something mischievous in my voice. She laughed, a sound I had come to cherish, and agreed. When I saw my husband at the divorce hearing, my heart ached. He was a shell of his former self, greasy hair, dark circles under his eyes, the vibrant man I once knew gone. I felt bad, truly, for a little while, but Jill was there, solid and loving, holding me together. Months later, Jill and I are living together, openly and happily. She found an amazing nursing job, and our relationship has only deepened. No more sneaking around, no more secrets. We built a life, a real home, with each other. So, that's my story. It's wild, I know, but it's real. I found love in the most unexpected, complicated way. I guess my question for you is, if you found yourself in a situation this messy, where your heart pulled you in a direction that seemed completely wrong by societal standards, what would you have done? Would you have fought for the conventional, or risked everything for true happiness? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts.